The issue is about the transport of goods in and out of Burkina Faso and through Burkina Faso as well. And actually the situation of transport had grown unmanageable in the years 2005 to 2008 because of the overloading of trucks. The main responsibility for the overloading and for the destruction of, let's say, public investments was the international transport. It was a huge cost on the national budget because it was representing something like 45 million euro supplementary costs per year in maintenance in order to reach an acceptable level of conditions. In Burkina Faso only, there was the experience previously in other countries of having tried to be extremely strict, but it didn't work. It didn't work just because the stakeholders, like the transport companies, or maybe the consumers, they are not ready to accept an augmentation of the costs of the basic goods which are transported by trucks. The problem comes from the fact that the situation had grown unmanageable because of the widening gap between the legal texts, so as what you should be allowed to transport in one truck, and the reality on the ground. There was, let's say, no more relationship between these two realities. And actually, this kind of de facto, de jure gap is, let's say, a typical solution in fragile environments. And let's say, it has been even described by specialists as a capability trap. It means that it is much more difficult to manage a change process. It is much more difficult to have a capacity development process when there is no more connection between the actual reality and the legal texts. Actually, the very forward-looking decision of this national forum is to call upon a regional mediation in order to solve the issues and to invite all the stakeholders. This event of 2009, with, let's say, its limits, has been in fact extremely useful because the political power had also to test the reality. The Commission has tried to facilitate, to be in touch with as many stakeholders as possible. Actually, putting all the stakeholders together, it's not sufficient. First of all, it's very difficult, but it's not sufficient. So really, our role was to try to create some opportunities, to create some space for, let's say, these stakeholders to meet on, let's say, common goals. So since we had this gap between the de jure and de facto situation, we could not progress. So what we have tried to mediate was a middle way, a progressive situation. And therefore, we have mobilized expertise. We have mobilized actually the best expertise that we could find from EU member states on the subject of what the rules, let's say, how the rules could be maybe adapted in order to in a progressive, let's say, situation in terms of the load that can be transported by a truck. The Commission has played a key role actually during this process, let's say, along the years. And first of all, by the network of delegations. The delegations have been, let's say, working very closely. They have even, let's say, gained the trust of institutional stakeholders because basically in these two major, let's say, milestones, in these two major workshops in 2009 and 2010, each time headquarters has come. The cost of such a seminar, where it means that you have unions, loaders, different stakeholders of different ministries in each country who are coming together to have a 3 days workshop. It means the cost is something like 150,000 euro each time. So it's a very important cost. But in fact, it's nothing. it's almost, let's say, it's a very soft process with compared, let's say, with this 45 million euro in only, let's say, loss in only one single country. I'll try to draw 5 lessons for the delegations. The first is multi-stakeholder process. The EUD can invest in exploring the landscape of stakeholders, national and regional, public and private, formal and informal. And because from this exploration of stakeholders can emerge opportunities. And the opportunities are key in a capacity development process. The second is the values for the EUDs to work in network and also with headquarters. Today, I would only add, we should have capitalized this experience on capacity for dev. That's the tool for this. The third is that the EUD need some technical knowledge, need to also invest everybody cannot be a specialist, but you can try even to learn by yourself, because this is very important in order to be a respected, a trusted partners by the stakeholders. The fourth lesson is that there are very important synergies between the policy dialogue and the investment. Of course, we would not have had the capacity to promote and to facilitate this change process if we wouldn't have invested so much budget in infrastructure. And the last one is the fact that ownership comes from trying and having errors. So it means that we cannot just, let's say, propose and impose the best technical solution, but we have to let room for the stakeholders to find their own way.